As someone who's been in the social sector for probably the last 16 years, as a hiring organization, I've hired many, many search firms. And as a candidate, I've been recruited by quite a number of search firms. So between those two roles that I've played, I've engaged with most of the firms out there. And I've had quite a number of good experiences. I'd say for each of the positive experiences I've had being recruited or hiring a firm, I'd probably say I had 4 or 5 disappointing experiences as well. So I noticed a gap in the service delivery on a few dimensions. One, how an organization is represented by a firm that they hire. I found that, oftentimes firms didn't spend enough time getting to know their client organizations to represent them out in the marketplace. And as an organization that's inherently in the social sector, these are nonprofit organizations, they're inherently dependent on their reputations and how they're perceived publicly. So for a vendor to be representing an organization that is out of line with how the organization would represent themselves has the potential to be damaging, or just to miss an opportunity to engage new potential supporters. As a candidate, I felt like there was a gap in terms of the treatment and the respect and the dignity of candidates throughout the process. And so I was on the market in 2020 as a candidate, and it was probably the worst experience I'd had. We're in the middle of COVID, and there is a lot of transition happening, a lot of uncertainty. And while I understand a lot of that, the way recruiters were handling situations, the way that they were treating candidates and, me, colleagues of mine, I felt was not right. I felt it didn't do any service to the organizations that were representing, and it was also wasn't keeping in mind the challenge and the difficulty of being on the market looking for a job in the first place. It's hard enough, let alone having somebody shepherding you through the process who's not actually having your interests in mind. So a lot of those things kind of bubbled up to my wondering, how is this happening? Someone needs to do this differently. And someone looked at me, and when I posed that question, they said, well, why don't you do that? And this person had been in executive search for probably 25 years. He's now my business partner. And so really it was identifying a need in the market of executive search as it relates to nonprofit organizations and social impact organizations that really brought us to this point to develop this firm, which was founded on 2 primary tenets, which are representing an organization as if they were representing themselves, and maintaining the dignity of candidates throughout the process, whether chosen or not. And our goal for the candidates is that anybody who comes through our process with our firm learns something about the organization to which they're applying, and perhaps also something about themselves in the process. It was just me and my business partner. And in his work, he'd never used a CRM before. He owned quite a small firm. He sold it in 2018. But everything was really done in spreadsheets. And, he'd been in the business long before CRMs were even a thing. They were doing research before there was internet research. So they were, looking through lists of candidates and calling companies and doing things by mail. So this is a wildly different resource that was available today that he'd not encountered. For me, I've used CRMs for many years. And so I thought to myself, if we're going to build this firm and we're going to continue to grow and try to make an impact in this industry, specifically as it relates to nonprofits, we needed to build something that was sustainable from the beginning, that was scalable. And we couldn't do that with spreadsheets. So I went and I did quite a lot of research on many different, potential ATS systems, many different CRMs, and I wasn't quite happy with most of the solutions. I felt as though they were not developed for a small emerging firm. I felt that they didn't give us quite the opportunity to grow and expand at our own pace as far as their subscriptions or their upfront buy-in went. And when I encountered Recruit CRM, I saw a few different things that I really liked. One, that this was also a growing company that was entering this space. And I felt that you all as a team could understand some of the challenges and some of the opportunities that we had as a firm in a similar space. I also really liked the accessibility. As a small firm, our resources were limited. So to be able to pay a monthly subscription fee and add on as needed, as we grew, build upon our licenses, that really fit what we were looking for. I also really, really like the interface. I really like how you all have built the system. And I think if there were one thing that I can say is consistently the factor that I appreciate most, it's the Kanban view in the moves management system. I'm quite a visual person, so to be able to see things in that context is very, very helpful. And it's also a really simple tool that I've been able to use to train our new people. There are 6 of us now, and I believe 5 of us are on the platform currently. And so it's been great and easy and simple for people to come on board and really truly understand how this works and how to apply it to make us more efficient. As far as ATS or CRM goes, this was the first tool. I did probably 12 or more demos with different potential solutions, and this is the first that I chose, and we're very happy with the choice. So since we were new, the plan was to build something that was scalable and that could grow with us. And so internally, that's what we were really sort of experiencing. Externally, I early on, I identified, this is the right time. It's a great time to go into the executive search business. There's so much upheaval. Lots of candidates were moving around. Organizations had scaled back. By the time we launched in January of 2021, so many organizations had scaled back their operations, maybe furloughed or laid off many employees, paring their budgets back. And it was through the fall of 2020 in the United States, I think, that a lot of organizations in this sector were realizing, oh, maybe we went too far to the opposite end. And they started to plan out their resources for the following year. Still a lot of uncertainty, but certainly realizing that their support hadn't waned quite as much as they thought it might. Now, of course, many organizations were millions and millions of dollars, lost through the first year of the pandemic. But as we saw economically in the United States, the people that were fared best economically were also the ones who were making gifts to nonprofits to help lift up that the social impact piece throughout this tragedy. And so they noticed that their largest donors, who were paying a lot of the bills, they were making more money in the markets, and so they could really reinvest. So for us, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of opportunity, there are quite a lot of people in the market, but the number of positions are increasing. So for us, it was, in order to do this, we need a tool that's going to help keep us organized, because we saw business really taking off. Well, it was really nice to get to know the tool, because Recruit CRM makes it very easy to do that. There's a little chat button on the bottom of the window that's always there. And at virtually any moment, I can chat someone and say, I can't quite figure this out. I can't quite remember. And in that chat function, there are also, there's a tremendous library of resources that I learned to use to answer questions before even having to come to you. Alternatively, there are weekly webinars that I found very, very helpful. Early on, it was a training for me. You did quite a lot of demos. I feel that Recruit CRM was very present for us to learn, because this is something new and unfamiliar for us. So it was really kind of the ease of understanding the system, of navigating it, but knowing that virtually 24 hours a day, there's a team either, I think, in New Jersey and also in India that could be responsive to us as our needs emerged. And so that was something that we, continue to appreciate, because Tony, he's just come on board 5 weeks ago, has been really leaning into those resources as well, because, I'm still learning, so I can't teach him everything.
Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking from somebody who's only had their hands on it for 5 weeks, I've been able to really familiarize myself with this product almost completely on my own, just using the resources available. And coming from other organizations that utilize CRMs, that's not the industry norm. I mean, it takes a lot of time to familiarize yourself with that, and so the ease of use, the user friendliness of it, I think, is something that initially for me really impressed me coming in and trying to learn this tool. I would also say, to your other question about the impact that it's had, and Johnny's mentioned this a few times, the scalability, I think it's helped stabilize and help us track. And one of the things I'm most excited for on working with this tool is that ability to continue, its flexibility that it provides us to continue to grow and find new ways to utilize it and continue to take advantage of this and leverage this tool as we continue to vet more candidates and our business expands. I think is something that's we're going to see continued benefits. So not only have we seen initial ones, but I think they're going to continue to happen as we further integrate ourselves with this tool. I could speak to that initially. I'm sure, again, Johnny's more familiar with it than I am at this point. But for me, I think I mentioned the flexibility. I think I've started to utilize and think long-term on, what are some of the additional fields and data points that we can capture and run queries against. So, as our team continues to brainstorm and we continue to pivot how we do things and adapt our model, to be able to very easily and quickly modify the CRM to support that is something that I've been really, really impressed with. So for me, it's the flexibility. It's the ability to go ahead and change it on the fly or add something that we need to quickly without having to undergo an entire project or a new integration. So that's the thing I'm most excited about and appreciate the most about the product that you guys have.
Sure. So we brought Recruit CRM into our suite of tools very, very early. And so I can tell you confidently that the percentage increase in placements is infinite, because it was before we placed anyone. And we placed about 15 or 16 executives in the last maybe 11 or 12 months. And so, it's certainly been boosted by the capabilities that we have. I think what's been important too is, since it started so early, everything is sort of an infinite increase, right? But what I found to be the most beneficial aspect of having a tool like Recruit CRM that's quite understandable, that is easy to use, it's very user friendly, is for my own recruitment purposes. To be able to go to search consultants and say, we're a new firm, but we're not new at this. Come join us, we're doing things differently. And here are all the tools and resources that we have available to you. And to be able to show them something that, they likely had never encountered, which is Recruit CRM, it's impressive. And it's certainly been helpful to us in appealing to other search consultants as we grow. So, in the first year, there are 6 people at the firm that, where it started with me and my business partner. It's been a really valuable resource. And I think, as far as efficiencies go, there's another feature that I really appreciate is the plugin to our G Suite. So we use Google Workspace for everything. And in the related emails tab, in a candidate's profile, every one of us can go in at any point and catch up to make sure that we can see and get up to date with the most recent communications that any one of us has had with any one of the other candidates, especially since we have candidates that are applying to multiple roles. How do we make sure that we're staying on top of this and we're not duplicating our efforts? It's, integrations like that I find to be tremendously valuable. I'll give it a 10, and I have, you all have been so gracious with your time helping us get on board. There's been at least one instance where I've been asked to have a referral phone call with a potential client, which I really enjoyed doing. I hope they've signed up, but I think that is just indicative of my willingness to do as much as I can to help your business grow as well.